Who are the Ashkenazi Jews? Those species, are they from another star system or from underground?
If you hear the word Nibiru and listen to the word Hebrew, you can hear it phonetically sounds the same, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's...
So there's all of these species and they're currently underground.
Okay, when you say underground, there's... Okay, let's look at it.
How can we access these beings?
You do, by way of your mind. This is what I'm saying. Or in terms of physically, you mean?
Physically access these beings.
Right, there's so many extraterrestrials everywhere. On TV, in governments. Mm-hmm. Every time there's been an attempt to destroy the planet, extraterrestrials will show up. Some of them are able to shapeshift. They're so advanced, they've mastered the ability to manipulate their molecules so they can literally take any form. Then you got the eyes. People are capturing footage of people's eyes changing into those reptilian eyes. People are shapeshifting in certain situations.
So on the point of AI, right?
Yeah.
So you have humans,
yeah,
which are the products of the Anunnaki and so forth, right?
Yeah.
And then you have AI, which is the product of humans. Does AI have any link to our creators?
Rahubat Musa, once again, I'm fortunate to have a brother that's come into the store, wants to know more about Wu-Sabat. I'm Saken, of course, student teacher of Parna Babyanun, the master teacher, who has basically written all these books and has given us the knowledge and our culture, which we know as Wu-Sabat. So we're happy to take questions on anything we teach and just to help people, learn the truth. All right. Ben, we say Rahubat, greetings, nice to have you.
Yeah. Nice to meet you, I'm Ben. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
I'd like to first ask, so what does Wu-Sabat mean?
Okay, that's a great question. One of the things is that in the world right now, if you were to say to somebody, what do you believe in or what do you accept as truth, you're going to get many answers like, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Jew, I'm a Hindu, but you're not going to get many people say, I'm a Sabian, or Musbatu, as we say in our language, or one who is of the culture of Wu-Sabat. So Wu-Sabat is really our culture. Mm-hmm. Now we have to tell people that or define it, because if you said any of the other terms, the likelihood is somebody will go, oh, I know what that is. Because someone has told you what that is in the past, or you've been following that for years. So it's new, because as prophecy goes, you're told near what people call the end of the world that a new song will be sung. Like if you read the book of Revelations in the Bible, for example, and that new song is our language as part of our culture of Wu-Sabat. Yeah, so for those that don't know how, we say Wu and then Sabat. Yeah, so Wu-Sabat, that's our culture. And then our language, Miss, Bat, or we can put dashes or apostrophes, and Miss Batia. That will be our language that we speak as part of our culture of Wu-Sabat.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So with Miss Batia, we would have learned, so this is the original language.
That's right.
And who would have taught us this original language?
Okay, I guess we'd have to go back to the origins of even how we managed to speak. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason we say it's the original language is because when you start to look at, people say God, Allah created everything. And we say, well, how do you know this? Mm-hmm. And what they will do mainly in religion is they will give you a book and say, this is the word of God, or we got these words from God. And then we'll be like, okay, what's the language? Mm-hmm. And if you're dealing with the Bible today, mainly the King James Version is the most popular one that everyone uses. You're going to open it and you're going to read English.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, how old is English? And if God was here first, or whoever was on the planet first, they must have spoken. because in Genesis, they tell you that Adam and Eve were speaking to this serpent, so they must have had a language, right? And also God comes and he's walking and talking and saying, who told you were naked? Who told you to eat the fruit? So we're like, well, what language was he speaking? So when you look at religions, they will say, if it's the youngest one, Arabic, Islam, they will say Arabic. But you're like, well, Arabic goes back, if the Quran's only 1400 years old, that can't be the beginning. And then you go to the people who use the Bible, they will say the New Testament, which is like 2000 years old. And that will be in Greek. And you're like, well, Greek can't be the first language. Then the people who follow the Old Testament, or what they call the Old Testament, which is really the 5 books of Moses, referred to by the Jews as the Torah, they will say Hebrew. And then you say, but Hebrew came about at a specific time, and that can't be the first language because Hebrew, going back by the Old Testament, to 6,000 years old. Then you say, okay, well, who's before that? So you go into all these other cultures like the Chinese, the Hindus, the Mayans, and most notably the Egyptians. Because when you go to ancient Egypt, there's writing on the walls. And that's a language. You go to ancient Sumer, where Mesopotamia, it's kind of like where Iraq is today, and you will find out that that's where Abraham and his family came from. And they were Sumerians. So you can look at the Sumerian text, which is cuneiform. So as you're going further backwards, you're going to end up with ancient Egypt, and you'll be like, okay, what is the language? Because people will say, that's the script. Cuneiform is a script. You know, it's cuneiform, like, it's really if I spell it properly, cuneiform, right? Cuneiform, people say. And that is, it's written like this. It's got like, it's like a wedge. It literally means wedge carvings. And then obviously the hieroglyphics on the wall of Egypt, those are both scripts. So you ask people, what is the actual language then? Because if it's written,
it's not words.
It's not right.
Vocal.
So you then deal with, people go to the dictionary, which is diction, which deals with
definitions.
Well, it gives you definitions, but the word diction, or it's to do with sound. Yeah, so it should be called a definitionary, not a dictionary, because it's not dealing with diction, right? Anyway, so we then come along and say, there are ancient tablets that have been found in ancient Sumer, in Iraq, and so forth, right? Mesopotamia, cuneiform. You have people like Zecharia Sitchin that have translated them. And these stories are talking about like the Anunnaki, but we say both of these hieroglyphics, if I'm spelling it correctly, hieroglyphics and cuneiform are both scripts of this language, Misbatia.
Okay.
But when people start to research this, they will get other names because it's known as Sabaic or Nuapic, and you have to go to the area where you can find evidence of the language. So you'd have to look at things like Napata. Yeah. So we say, where do these come from? As I said, the cuneiform tablets, they start to talk about these beings called Anunnaki. Now everyone is talking about Anunnaki. And the Anunnaki are a group of extraterrestrial beings that came to this planet on a craft called Nibiru.
Okay.
And, you know, that's where those writings come from. And it tells you about they were here before the Bible and the Quran and all these books. But then you also go to the hieroglyphics of the ancient Egyptians. The Egyptians, they tell you themselves in their writings that they come from Orion and different star constellations. So they are also extraterrestrials. So when you say who gave us the language, it was brought down here from these beings that came from different places.
Okay.
And they imported it here, and then literally the people on the planet were taught it. But women spoke first. And there was an actual operation that was done to put the larynx, the voice box, into the females.
Oh.
And that was done like 54,000 years ago.
Tell me more about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. And what they did is like, if you ask anybody on the planet, are there any animals that speak on the planet?
No.
You
Apart
say-
from, say, a parrot.
Okay, thank you. The parrot will repeat a few words, right? But if there are no animals that speak, how was the serpent speaking in the garden? You see? So this is where the trick comes in, because it wasn't a snake.
Okay.
Even though they translate the word into serpent. I'm talking about in Genesis 3. So it was actually, the word that they translate as serpent was whisper, or to whisper, or whisperer. So going back to what we were saying, somebody was speaking to someone, and the females were, through this experiments from these extraterrestrial, they were able to use animals like the baboon and the parrot, and then they developed the voice box, and then first, did an operation on the females, and that was 54,000 years ago. So the women were speaking, and that's how the language evolved, and then men spoke afterwards. And we have that in the books. I'll show you some of the books later of our language. And then now on the planet, people are speaking English, but English is not really a language, it's a dialect.
Okay.
What's the difference between dialects and languages? A language will be original, and then people will then take that original language
and add nuance.
and add nuances, and then like with different accents and so on, and like English is borrowing words from different languages, like Yiddish from German, from French. And when you actually take the time to study language, you find out that because languages evolve, when you read the word, it'll be like from the Old English or from the German, this, like, just get an etymology, which is a way that you can study words, the origins of the words and how they came about and evolved over time. And even today, we're creating new words, like slang words, like, young people will say something today that people will know what it means. Like if you said, well, gas is a word, but if I said you're gassing, maybe the older generation might not know what I'm talking about. But there's a new vocabulary. So languages do evolve, and that's why we say that every language on the planet, because it evolved from Misbatia, Nuapik, Sabaic, you find words of other languages in our language.
That stem from
the original.
Okay.
I hope that's clear. If not, just probe and ask more questions, and I will.
So was this taught to us by the Conehead people, the Anunnaki?
No, good question. So when I mentioned the two people, like the people that gave us the hieroglyphics, and then you got the cuneiform, these will be referred to as elders because they're the ancient ones, because of the ancient tablets and so forth. But this language coming from Misbatia to the hieroglyphics, which is one of the scripts of the language, came from what we call the Natharu. That's our elders. The word Natharu means overseers, and we say N-A, Natharu, so that's a J, Okay. And this Natharu means overseers.
Okay.
So those are the elders that built the pyramids, or helped their children build the pyramids, and then you have another set of group called Anunnaki.
So the Natharu are separate?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, and this is something that many people, Anunnaki, most people now know about cuneiform, and the Anunnaki coming here by the craft Nibiru. And it's incidentally right now, as you know, there's a meteorite that's heading to the planet, which they're calling
Apophis.
Apophis, or now you're hearing 3-eye Atlas. Atlas, and it's kind of interesting because some are saying it's a meteorite, some are saying it's a craft. But going back to that, the Anunnaki, they came by way of Nibiru, and they're the ones that, if you hear the word Nibiru and listen to the word Hebrew, you can hear it phonetically sounds the same, right? Because that's how the word Hebrew was coined through Abraham, and then the Bible that becomes the 5 books of Moses.
Yep.
That Moses is supposed to have received. But remember, Moses was in Egypt. But Nibiru becoming Hebrew because this Abrahamic religion, because Abraham was their chosen guy, those books come from the Anunnaki books, like the Enuma Elish.
Okay.
Let me wipe some of this down so that we can, so the Natharu were the ones that were here first, but not many people know about them because the information about the Natharu has been, has been hidden or not publicly known because not many people were able to decipher the hieroglyphics.
Okay.
When people started to do it, they refer to it as the Metuneta, which is the language of the gods. Metu, this is how they say it, Metuneta, but it's really Natir, Metuneta. And people are looking at the hieroglyphics and trying to decipher them, but because they don't know the spoken language was actually Misbatia, they just like literally doing transliterations of hieroglyphics. But both the cuneiform script and the hieroglyphic scripts are the written form of the spoken language,
which is
Misbatia.
Okay.
But we speak it because it's been taught to us and reactivated by the Natiru, right? Which that word Natiru becomes the word nature in Egypt, but the proper pronunciation is Natharu.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're the original beings, and that means overseers. They're the overseers that seeded this planet. And then there's agreeable and disagreeable, meaning like good, people say good and bad, but it's just that they've got 2 different natures. Yeah, so they're the ones that the Natharu performed that operation to create the voice box to give us language.
Tell me more about that, please. So they created our voice box.
Yeah.
So they amalgamated species on Earth
Yeah.
to create what we currently are. Is that it?
Yeah, because again, it's a big story, and when we look at how we came about, the origins of people on the planet, again, you're given this kind of watered down nursery type of story of a God creating a man from the dust of the ground, taking the rib to create a woman, and that only goes back to 6,000 years old, right? And many questions are left unanswered. So, but when you look at it from a scientific point of view, you have evidence that is dug up, DNA that is taken,
hundreds of thousands,
and we go back millions of years. In fact, depending on whether you're talking about us as humanoids or beings that were on the planet way before we came about, or even if you're going back to the birth of the planet or the birth of our galaxy, or even just our solar system, or the birth of our universe, you see how you can keep going really far. And depending on how far back you go, we will say, okay, who was on the planet at that time? And then you can go back to a point where even before the birth of our universe, or the universes, and go back to a state where everything was really like gases, which we refer to as 9 ether gases. So I'm only saying that to put things into perspective, because people going by a 6,000 year story is such limited information. And so we have to go back to, okay, who were the first people on the planet? And that goes back to the Natharu seeding the planet with their DNA and their genetics by way of putting that into a capsule and inserting that into the beings we know as dolphins today. And they came here, and those capsules melted in the water because the planet at that time was just a water planet. And then over millions and millions of years, there was evolution with those genes and the prototypes of the first living cells that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a big question in terms of, okay, how far back do we want to go on? Who were we talking about? Now, the scientists today, they're saying, you know, they give you, can I wipe this off? They're saying, okay, let's look at the origins of man away from this biblical kind of account.
Okay.
The biblical account is very limited because, like I said, it's like a nursery story, because it just says, oh, God said, let there be light, and let there be this, and let there be that, and it just happened. Where we know that when they're looking at the evolution, you have the scientific world, you have like Darwin's theory of evolution, or you have, you know, like through natural selection and all these kind of things. Then you have anthropologists who are basically going, okay, let's look at the evidence. And they will tell you that now the first man will be the Homo, you can look this up, naledi,
Okay.
and that will be like Africans, and then they'll have, you know, they'll go and tell you about the Denisovan, Denisovan, which would be, I'm making it quite simple, right? This would be like the Asians, and then they will tell you about Cro-Magnon, sorry, my writing. And then you may have the Neanderthal, These will be known as Neanderthal. I'm just writing quickly, so just forget about Neanderthal, which will be the Caucasians.
Okay.
Or Europeans,
So, but off that point, so who's Yakub?
Oh gosh. Yes, that's again, we're jumping because, right, I would ask you, where did you first hear about it's Yakub, Where would you have first heard that term? Or
He's Jacob from the Bible, isn't he?
Is it?
So I've seen some things stating that, but it might not be true.
Okay, so the Yakub story really comes, or was made more prominent by the Nation of Islam, because they're talking about how this being created what they call white people, which is really a story that goes to a bigger story by extraterrestrials that came here. We're jumping around, but
sorry.
You had after the Natharu seeded this planet and life was evolving, and you had like the African stock who were really what were known as the Pataites, Pataites, and then you have from them you get like the Sans people, in South Africa, so that ties into this African, and then everyone's traits comes from the Sans people.
Okay.
And then when you're looking at the Yakub story, is really talking about a graftation that took place. But what is missing from this is, like, as I was saying, the Natharu came, seeded the planet. These were the originals, the Africans. But then you had other beings also that started to come to this planet from other star systems.
Okay.
I already mentioned one being the Anunnaki. But you also had like other beings, like if you look at like India, there are beings that came from a place called Nirvana.
Okay.
Then you look at when we get into the Yakub story, there are beings called the Teros. They came from a place called Jamon.
Okay.
And then you had there were many beings that came here, but every being that came here, they had to still take the original, the blueprint
from
to create those beings.
Okay.
Right? So a lot of them were residing in the what we call the caverns in the center of the earth.
Okay.
Right? This place is called Shamballah. We have this scroll here, cities within the earth. You see, it's called Shamballah and Aghaartah, cities within the earth. And I could quickly just show you that because it ties into your Yakub story. So this scroll, it gives you, and you can just Google the Hollow Earth and then look into, so this is a Teros being. Yeah.
Okay.
This is where it's going to tie into the Yakub story, but you have beings like these as well, who are known as, these are known as the Deros.
Okay.
Then you had these beings, yeah, the Teros, and most of these beings, they will have, like, they'll be related to the three species on the planet that I mentioned, like the Africans, like the Asians, and like the Europeans or the Caucasian.
So those species, are they from another star system or from
Yes.
underground?
They came from another star system, but then they lived here and still live here.
They still are here?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are many beings out, and then these ones here, like these are like the Duanis, okay? And then that's the Duani, that's the head of the Duani, known as Sinclair.
Okay.
Right, so the Yakub story, there's one more I want to show you, which is dealing with the Donakil, which is where Yakub, if I can find the Donakil. Then you see, you also had like the Ashtar Federation, and other beings came here. It's a big story, but what I want to do is kind of tie it in for you.
Yeah.
Right, so there you go, that's another being. These are known as the Flugorods.
Flugorods.
Yeah. So these were before the Caucasians that people know about.
The current day Caucasian.
Yeah.
Okay.
These were like 8,400 years ago, and the Caucasians, or more what we call the Adamites, they were grafted 6,000 years ago. Right. This is what I wanted to show you. These are the Donakils. Yeah. So what happened with the Yakub story is that he basically was a combination of a Donakil and a Teros.
Okay.
And because of that mixture, you see how the Donakils look, right? They've got kind of big head, right? So he, if I can find a picture of him, he was basically, he had two brains because of that mixture. Can't see if I can find a picture of him. And then, of course, they're like the greys and other beings that have also come back. Let me see if I can find.
And do they live underground?
Right. I can't find it right now, but we've got a picture of. We've done a video on Yakub already, anyway. But because of the mixture between the Teros and the Donakil, Yakub came out with two brains, and they used to tease him because he didn't belong to either of the two. Like they kind of like shunned him from one side, and the other side shunned him, and so he vowed to get revenge. So what he did was say he's going to create a being that was weak and wicked, and then they're going to be under him. He's going to rule them as God, and then that's how he went about to create what we're calling the Flugorods. But that took many years. It wasn't like overnight, because what he was doing is he would take, if the two beings like had a child, and the child was dark skinned, he will get rid of that. If it was light skinned, then he'll keep that. So he kind of went from taking the black genes, or the brown gene as it's explained, going to the red genes, and then eventually, basically, like, imagine if you had a dark child, you got rid of that, and then the light child was left, and then that light child had a child with a light child, and then they had a child, and then eventually you kind of like go from a dark to the...
Through selective breeding.
Right, exactly. And that's what's happened. Even if you look at the story of, say, Michael Jackson, when he was like dark, he had like the big lips, big nose, afro hair, was very dark. But by the time he went through all that plastic surgery and everything, he ended up looking completely separate, where he was now white, his hair was straight, thin lips, thin nose. Right, so that's kind of showing you in a very quick summary how Yakub went about creating the Flugorods, but eventually the Flugorods mixed with the Caucasians. But when we say Caucasian,
which ones are we referring
we're talking
to?
about a specific species of people that were in the Caucasus Mountains. That's where the word Caucasus comes from, Caucasus Asian, which is really telling you about how you went from Asian to a Caucasian. Because when you take, if you look at Caucasian, I missed that A there. You're literally saying Asian, you can hear it, Caucasus Asian. The two words were put together. But when people look at and generalize, they will just say white people.
Yeah.
But even within white, what they're calling white people, they're really Vikings. That's where they go back to. And when you say Vikings, you're talking about 6 kings. Yeah? So there are different species of what people are calling white people.
So
Yeah.
I know, I'm aware of Caucasian, and then you've got the Nordics.
Right.
The blue-eyed.
The Nordics would have come from the Flugerods. Because
Okay.
that's where a piece of the story that we've left out. These other beings called Pleiadians, I think I showed you them quickly in the book, where the Ashtar Federation, they are Pleiadians.
Yeah.
And they were the ones that influenced Yakub by telepathically influencing him through his brain. They were able to give him this idea of creating these beings.
Okay.
And that's how the Flugerods came about. And they're Nordic. So the original ones were blonde hair and blue eyed. That's kind of the graftation. And then eventually those mixed with the Caucasian, who came about through, if you read in the Bible, the sons of Canaan, right? Canaan, or Canaan, he was cursed. You can read this in Leviticus 13, where it says, "Cursed be Canaan."
Okay.
And that curse was the curse of leprosy. Yeah? So Ham was black. That's where the word, when you hear the word Kemet, it really is from Ham or Ham.
Okay.
So through him, he lost pigmentation. So he was black, but then he was an albino, which is to lose melanin.
Through leprosy.
Right. So then he moved into cooler climate, into the mountains. His real name was Laban, right? And he was moving into the mountains because he couldn't take the sun, because obviously...
He lacked melanin.
Right. So when he moved into the Caucasus Mountains, he then mixed, or they then mixed with the Flugerods that were there before them. So then you had a mixture of Caucasians.
Okay.
But then 6,000 years ago, the same Pleiadians grafted a being that is referred to as the Adamah, right, or the Adamites.
Okay.
But in the Torah, the word becomes Adamah, which means off the ground, or ruddy or red, because the word Adam also ties into the word Edom, yeah, phonetically. This is why it's so important to study the etymology of words. So when you're saying Adam, Adamites, when people are reading the Bible today, that story just becomes God created one man called Adam. But it wasn't. If you read it carefully, he says, created he them, and called their names Adam. Okay. So he's really talking about these Adamites 6,000 years ago. And that's where the Bible kind of picks up from. And then today you have these 6,000 year Adamites became the 6 kings, like you were saying, like Polish, German, etc., etc. Yeah. So did that help?
Yes.
That? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything I say, if you want us to drill in or kind of clarify, we can do that. But yeah, so it's a big story. But when I say, if you go back pre-humans, pre the planets, pre the solar system, because even today, what are they doing? They're talking about this Apophis and 3-eye atlas that's coming. And how do they know about this? Because they use a telescope called the James Webb telescope. And that telescope is the most powerful telescope to look into the origin of the universe. Because prior to that, they were using the Hubble telescope. Why do you need to look back? Because when you look at a universe starts off like a dot, and then it expands, yeah, outwards and grows. So if it's grown from that point to this point, if you go backwards or can look back to its origin, you can determine how old it is, you can determine what caused it to start growing, etc., etc. So what they're doing is trying to find out the birth of our universe to answer many questions. Okay. So they've used this James Webb telescope, and now they've managed to, they can see and take pictures or clearer pictures of what's going on beyond what we could see originally. This is how they've managed to catch this 3-eye atlas, as they're calling it. And now people are afraid in terms of it's coming here, it might hit the planet, it might be a craft, just like the Anunnaki came on a craft, or these beings that have been coming here for millions of years, have been coming here on crafts. People will say they don't want to talk about it in the sense of extraterrestrial. But then you read the Bible and the Quran and all these books, and they're all telling you about extraterrestrials. It's ironic because the wars and the things that have been going on the planet, every time there's been an attempt to destroy the planet, extraterrestrials will show up. Meaning, like, when there was a war in 1945 and, you know, like First World War, Second World War, and they used the bomb, the atomic bomb on in Japan, you know, Hiroshima and Nagasaki. That was a threat to the beings because they also live on the planet. They live underwater, they live in the caverns, some of them live above the planet. So they showed you crafts over the White House because they had to intervene. Whenever man gets to a point where he's going to destroy the planet, they will step in because it's going to affect them too. And like, we're in the 18th galaxy, right? And the 19th galaxy is next door to the 18th galaxy, which is where our teacher, Partner Babyanun, comes from a planet called Risk. So they also are like, they're not really supposed to intervene with our natural evolution, but if it's going to cause a catastrophe on the magnitude of a holocaust, or like other planets get pulled into like the sun, and then it affects the next galaxy and the next one, it then becomes a cosmic thing. So today we're in that same situation where you have wars going on now with Russia and, you know, Ukraine. You've got the Palestinians against, you know, Israel. And this is, again, a tension where just the other day, China did a whole demonstration of their might in terms of their military power. Not long after that, ironically, Donald Trump, what does he do? He changed the name of the, what did they call it? Instead of calling, Ministry of Defense to the Ministry of War.
Donald Trump has done that?
Yeah, this was like just a few days or last week something.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, it's escalating to a point where if we do get back to that situation, whether it's the meteorite hitting the planet or whether people are dropping missiles that are going to cause a nuclear weapon, ironically as well, I watched the latest Mission Impossible movie, right? And again, that's, if you watch it, it's talking about AI. Now, AI is artificial intelligence, right? These threats like AI taking over, they saying that's the biggest threat because AI is going to get to a point where it's so advanced, they even predicting like by 2027, all the jobs that are being done by humans are going to be done by AI, because AI is going to get to a point where it's a super computer to the point where it will basically do all the jobs we do, learn, you know, it learns by itself. I'm saying all that to say that if you look at today, the biggest threat is AI. In the movie Mission Impossible, AI takes over and it's able to, the whole point is to launch all the missiles and have the world basically destroyed, and then it takes over. So we're now at the point where everyone's warning you about AI. You've got meteorites coming that can hit the Earth. You've got all these wars of people threatening to use nuclear weapons. So it's a kind of similar situation where extraterrestrials will step in because they don't want that to happen. So people are now being prepared or waking up to let you know about the kind of origin of the planet, who these extraterrestrials are, why they came here, what's going on today. And in religion doesn't address any of this apart from saying to you that God created this Adam, and from Adam all human came from there, and the only way you're going to go to where they are, which is heaven, which is why we say they're extraterrestrials, because you talk about angels coming from up down, you know, Gabriel came from up down to Muhammad. You got God is sitting on a throne in heaven. These are all extraterrestrials, and they came down here the Anunnaki stories is dealing with extraterrestrials. And we, as the children on the planet, are all descendants of these same extraterrestrials. The Africans go back to the Natharu. The Asians, they go back to these beings from, like, as I said, from Drummond. You got the Caucasians, they go back to the Pleiadians. And then you got like reptilians and other types of beings who evolved in their different star systems, come here, abduct other beings like the Greys, create more hybrids. And these Greys, some of them they're free, and others have been captured by these draconian or reptilian beings. And they also, some of these beings have had children on the planet. So it's such a big story. Like on the planet right now, we are extraterrestrial by way of our descendants. Caucasians go back to the Pleiades and the Aghaartah or the Adamites. You have the Asians, they go back to these various beings, and then there's so much mixtures between everyone. So today it's not as simple as, we know who we are because we have a being that's come and is going, I'm from your family, my name is Janun, I come from the planet Risk, this is where you originally came from, we built the pyramids, that's why we aligned them to Orion, etc. So every race on the planet is able to get the correct information by way of Wu-Sabat or our teachings. Go ahead.
So with that being said, who are the Ashkenazi Jews?
Right, that's a great question. Remember when I was saying the sons of Canaan? Canaan had 11 children. If you go through it in the Bible, it tells you, it actually lists them all out, like the Archites, the Amorites, the Caucasians. So they're different ones. So when you say Amorites, you're really talking about more going to the mountains, to America.
Okay.
You got Archites, you're dealing with like the Australians. You got different sons of Canaan. So the Ashkenazim, they come by way of those children. Okay. A lot of them are from like Russian descent, or like I said, Europe. So you got the Sephardim and you got the Ashkenazim. Like they're literally Russians. Even like when you say Germany, you're really talking about, again, germs in terms of the genetics and the germ man, because it ties into how they were grafted. But yeah, that's who they really are. But obviously, today, people take on labels and titles and pretend to be who they're not, you see. So, and it's a very sensitive subject, because when you start pointing it out, because we're in the days where everyone needs to know the truth, you know. So like, for example, one of the sons is also known as Jebus, yeah? Jebus, one of the 11 sons. And this is where the Jebusites, when you say ites, you're really saying a tribe of people. Like we say Adamites, Jebusites, Amorites, yeah, or yeah, Canaanite. Those are all those sons. And Jebus is where what people will say, you know, they use the J, but in Hebrew, going back to what we were saying about the language, there's no J's. Yeah, so you're really dealing with, when they say Jebusite, they try to say they're from the tribe of Yehuda. Yeah, Yehuda, but they because they know that the J, they will say Yah.
Okay.
Yehuda. Yeah, and that Yehuda, Yehuda, D-A-H. That Yehuda is, they would say, yeah, this is where it can be quite controversial. They will say Jews are for the tribe of Judah. Yeah, Judah. Yehuda is what they're saying, Judah.
Okay.
But when you study the tribe of Judah, that is not the same as the Jebus. Yeah, that's because from the 12 tribes of what they call Israel, yeah, where they were wiped out in 2 Kings, because again, people that claim they're, you know, from the 12 tribes, and like, they were wiped out. There was only 2 tribes that were that survived, and that was Dan. Sorry, my board is getting a bit messy, but Dan and Judah. Yeah. So yeah, so they're really Russians from the line or the lineage of Canaan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
And from that comes from those flugerods as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just trying to remember more questions.
No problem. Take your time. I can. Anything that is not clear, I'll go through it again.
So there's all of these species, and they're currently underground.
Okay. When you say underground, okay. Let's look at it on the planet. Let's say this is the planet. Yeah.
Yep.
When you look at the planet, you got. Let's say this is the surface. Then you've got like different. Because people used to say the planet is not hollow, but the planet is hollow because you got caverns, and so you got a subterranean world or inner world. You got people on the surface. You got people above the planet. So when you look at this planet, one of the beautiful things about why extraterrestrials are so interested in this planet is because it has so many different atmospheres. Yeah, yeah, and you can look at it here. Like it has so much. Again, going back. This book, Mission Earth, goes into it because the mission was to come to this planet and seed life, and there's an extraterrestrial involvement. But going back to what we're saying, you have to remember when you look at this planet, you have to remember that you've got surface dwellers, you've got beings that dwell in the inner earth, and you've got beings that dwell in the skies. And when we say beings, most of the times, there you go, like most of the times, humans just think about humans. But you forget there are birds, there are beings under the seas.
Yeah, insects.
Insects, exactly. So we have to look at, well, who are we talking about? So the surface dwellers, they have ancestry on the planet, and then you have some that are still underneath, and they stay underneath there, and they don't come out. Some come out.
Are we classed as the surface dwellers?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, there are other extraterrestrials that can also look just like we do, right? They can shapeshift. They can basically look just like you and me.
Okay.
But the difference is they may have certain abilities or able to do certain things. So yeah, you've got beings that are on the planet that are either children of these beings, or some of them just come up and walk around. And today, if you saw someone that looked very different, you would just look at them like for example, remember the days where you had punk rockers and beings that will like look completely different.
Yeah.
People will just look at them and think
that's their style.
That's their style. But some of these beings are extraterrestrial. And then you have beings that live under the earth, beings that have like crafts that they live on.
The Taros, for example.
Yeah. You've got beings that camouflage themselves, they live on crafts. They can camouflage themselves with the clouds. Some of them are able to move between dimensions in terms of the way their crafts are, so they can be invisible, so you wouldn't even see them. You have beings that are in certain parts of the solar system where they can be hidden from the naked eye. So there's so much different situations. So we'd have to go into like details of like specific beings. And there are people that get abducted and see beings all the time. And one of the things that has come out why there's so much documentation about like the Greys, for example, is when beings are abducted, they try to put them to sleep. But some people, it doesn't work on them. So they are awake whilst this is happening. And they record and remember everything. And remember that your eye is like a camera. It literally records everything. So when they put them into regression, they're able to recall images, or they ask them to draw what they saw. And this would be the same from people all around the world. And it's got so much to the point where the governments have to address it. They have to address abductions. They have to address extraterrestrials. And now they look at them and they call them UAPs. And you know, the government, like the American government, has had to do disclosure. Now you can just go on YouTube and you see live conferences going on talking about extraterrestrials, which they used to call what? Unidentified, unidentified flying objects or UFOs. Now they're UAPs, and they're really studying it. Plus the fact that this craft that is heading here, and our master teacher, Partner Babyanun, was writing and talking about these things from the 90s. Look, for example, Is God an Extraterrestrial? That book goes back to the 90s and is talking and telling you about what we are calling gods and angels, and these are extraterrestrial beings that have been coming here and visiting here for millions of years and live amongst us and walk amongst us, and some of them are able to shapeshift because they're so advanced. They've mastered the ability to manipulate their molecules so they can literally take any form, some of them. And now in the entertainment industry, you're seeing instances where people are catching all kinds of clips and like footage of, remember the one with the, I can't remember her name, she was walking and then she drops and her leg kind of like morphs. Then you got the eyes, people are capturing footage of people's eyes changing into those reptilian eyes. People are shapeshifting in certain situations. On top of that, you have the whole cloning thing as well going on. Again, we were taught about clones in the Man from Planet Risk book. I'm not sure if we've got it there, but yeah, the Man from Planet Risk. Hotep, see if we've got one in there, and I'll show you. Like, even in that Shamballah and Aghaartah, the master teacher was showing us. In fact, let me show you. Again, we keep coming back to this. There are books like, when I'm talking about Enki and Enlil and cuneiform and all that conflict between the gods, that's dealing with the Enlil and Enki story, yeah? But if you look at this Man from Planet Risk, grab that for a minute, right? If you go into this, here the master was telling us and showing us how they're able to, he went into the genetics and everything, but look, here are people, clones, yeah, from, again, there's like social media videos now that are talking about different people that have been, cloned. And cloning was because of, ethical and kind of like things to do with, at the time, there wasn't that much in terms of legal legalities in terms of cloning, you see. So he was teaching us about cloning and twigging, and like, look at these people. That's David Bowie, and look at. So now there's social media that are also showing you. They're showing you people that are on the planet,
so
that they say
out of males and etc.
Right, that they're saying have been here many times before, and like when you start to understand that you can shape shift and you can come back over and over and over again because you don't actually really die. This book goes into so much. It talks about the Philadelphia experiment with Nikola Tesla and the whole like extraterrestrial helping them to try and carry out certain experiments, and all of this stuff was documented and was classified, yeah, to the point where you had to have certain security clearance to know about what the governments knew and have been like hiding. So it talks about all kinds of technologies that they have, aliens that crashed here, like the Roswell situation, the various crafts that Hitler had during the war and so forth. So there's just so much information that, the master teacher was giving us even back there. This is the whole story about how Nibiru came and how, Neptune's gravitational pull made it swerve and how it hit Tiamat, which was the name of the planet. And then what we call the asteroid belt today, yeah, was formed from that crash. And then these beings that were responsible, they basically terraformed the planet, repaired it, and have been kind of like looking after it ever since. That's the planet where he comes from, Planet Risk. It shows you the entire solar system of that planet with the 3 suns. There's just so much information. It talks about the Crystal City, that is spoken about in the book of Revelation.
Is that
Remember,
over?
this is going back to the 90s. That's the ship Nibiru. And it gives all the details, the crystals on it. It gives so much information that, you know, talking about the type of technologies that we're using, like blast electricity and crystals and, you know what I'm saying? So this is even showing you the orbit that the planet Risk goes through because it has 3 suns. So on our planet, we just have the planet rotating around 1 sun. But where you have 3 suns, obviously things are going to grow differently, look differently, and the orbit is also going to be different. So, yeah, so there's just like so much information. But the man from Planet Risk book was talking about these beings and things like shape-shifting, cloning, and so on. And there's actually a company and a movement by a being called Ra'el. Yeah. Again, this is in the holy tablets. I'm going to wipe this off again. I think we need more space. But there's an organization with someone called Ra'el that was cloning. And years ago, they introduced a sheep called Dolly to the world. That was a successful clone. And then that company called Clone Aid, they were on TV saying they've cloned human beings. And that was going, again, this is probably back in the early 2000s, late 90s. So the whole subject of gods, extraterrestrials, and what's going on the planet right now and where it's all heading and what can happen to us as, you know, Musbatu or Sabians, Nawapians of Wu-Nuwat or Wu-Sabat is something we were taught many, many years ago. And now it's all coming, it's all being made available to everyone now. So we don't sound as crazy as when we were teaching this back in the 80s, 90s. That's why we say religion is dead. If you really want to know the truth, you can't rely on a nursery kind of story that can't give you the facts. Saying it's only like 6,000 years old. I mean, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe 90s, you could get away with accepting that stuff. But in the year 2000 and beyond, where you're dealing with the information age, where you've got smartphones, you've got like the internet, you've got
all the evidence,
so much research and so much findings. Anyone who can still be like under that 6,000 year spell of sleep is, you know, it's got to really wake up, because you have to realize that, it's not based on facts. Because they can't even break down and tell you where heaven is, where hell is, where these beings are. And now you can even go, okay, can you communicate with God? Is he shy? Is he shy of cameras? Why doesn't he appear and let us ask him some questions? And then you have all these shows of people that say they can communicate to the other side. And they bring people on TV that have lost loved ones, have crossed over, and they say, I'm going to get a message from that side to you. Why can't we do that with Jesus? Or any of the characters that they claim are in heaven or wherever they are. So, Wu-Sabat just demystifies things and just makes it so clear. And unless you're just going to be like, I don't want to know, and you're just stuck in that, do you know what I mean, belief system, you're just going to not evolve. You're going to, and the thing is that we're living in a day and time where you have to evolve. The whole, do you know what I mean, the planet's evolving. Knowledge is available, so you have to think about it. What that does, it creates mental health. Let me just do a very basic, simple diagram. So this is, let's say, someone's head, right? Most people make them smile, although a lot of people got the frown these days. But your mind, most people say my mind, and they think their mind is in their head. But it can't be, because we all have a mind. So your brain is in your head. Now, your mind governs what you do and what you think. Yeah? So, your mind governs what you think. Now, for you to behave properly, you need to have your mind correct. And there's something called a mental reservoir. Yeah? That's how we say the mind is not in your head. Because you can hear thoughts, reservoir. Right? So, you connect to that, and so does everybody else. Now, if your mind is filled with wrong information, you're going to act out of whack. Yeah, this is where mental health issues come in, because you're not able to connect the fact that you're not able to connect the fact that this information is giving you problems, because you act based on the knowledge or the information that you have. So if you just believe that there's a God somewhere in heaven and you're going to go to this place called heaven, or you might go to this other place called hell, but you don't like substantiate or prove it, or have no way of like, okay, how do you get there? And then someone comes along and gives you that information, which is going to make you think properly, yeah, because the way you think is based on your thoughts, and that then relates to how you act. So you have people on the planet that are doing things that don't make sense based on the fact that their mind is not correct. And everyone has the ability to tap into this reservoir of information, which people will refer to as the Akashic or the Akashic records. And that's where all the knowledge is. Yeah. Go ahead. I think you had another question.
So, I've got a separate question, but I'll ask a question about that.
Yeah.
So there are beings underground.
There are beings on the ground, on the planet, above the skies,
lots of
in
different
craft,
species.
lots of different species. Yeah.
And that previously wasn't very known to the human race, right?
Yeah.
Now, in the age of information, we're kind of getting there, and we're kind of understanding the situation.
Yeah.
How can we access these beings?
You do, by way of your mind. This is what I'm saying. Or in terms of physically, you mean?
Physically access these beings.
Right. There is an agreement, right?
Oh.
Yeah, they're not really supposed to interfere with us.
Okay.
But a lot of them still have, right? Because a lot of them don't stick to the agreements. So normally these beings will come and they will only speak to the people in control or people in power, because they are so powerful that if they do things that will affect the planet or the world, then obviously they kind of have to speak to those in charge. This is why anytime they show you any movies with extraterrestrials, they say, take me to your leader.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they need to speak to someone who can make decisions, right? And part of the problem was that some of these beings are not agreeable, meaning that they will come here and abduct people. And the reason is some of them eat human flesh. But when you had crashes like, say, the Roswell incident where the planet crashed, and then the governments would go to try and find out what this is about, because what it is they've been in contact with all the leaders. Like Eisenhower, for example, which is one of the American presidents, he was in contact with beings. You had beings that look like us, like Val Thor, right, who came to the planet, visited the White House. So you got agreeable beings that would try and negotiate. They exchange things, like they gave them certain technologies, like the technology of the hovercraft. They gave them cures for certain diseases like polio. They many things that they exchange, and they agree and say, okay, you can live here as long as you don't interfere, and so on and so forth. But over time, as I said, you have other beings that come, like the draconians or the disagreeable beings, who don't listen to no rules. They just like, we can do what we like. And it gets to a point where conflicts then start to take place.
Okay.
But many people get abducted around the world who, as I said, some of them would then relay their story. But in the past, you would be looked at as you're crazy. If you spoke about, I had this incident where a being just appeared, they looked like this, they just took me to a craft, operated on me, or did experiments on me, people would think you were crazy. But it's just got to the point where they've been showing more and more of themselves. Mm-hmm. Many people around the world have also said, look, this happened to me. So it's got to the point where keeping a lid on things is getting harder and harder. Mm-hmm. Because before they would be like, oh, it was a weather balloon. Or any incident that takes place on the planet, if they want to, why do they want to hush it up? Because they don't want any uproar or chaos or people getting out of control. Because it's all about maintaining control, power, keeping everyone in check. So now it's becoming so popular by different people saying they've seen extraterrestrials, they've seen this, or they've had this happen to them. And of course, our master teacher, he just literally blew the lid on everything. Meaning, like, you know, when he was teaching about he's saying, I am an extraterrestrial. I'm not from here. I come from a planet called Risk. And he gave all the different, like, species and information about the different beings and what took place on different solar systems, and all the projects, like, were being, as I said, classified or hidden. Because when things happen that affect, say, everyone on the planet to a certain degree, 9/11, for example, that was something that it had such an impact on people that people started to look into it really deep. Like, what happened? How did the towers come down? Who did? And the more people did this, they were able to start to, like, debunk it. And there's this another incident. Oh, we went to the moon in the 60s or whatever. And if you're a scientist, you're like, how did you do that? Because at the time, the technologies weren't sophisticated enough to, say, launch a rocket to go past the spheres, right? And break through all these spheres. They didn't have that type of technology at that time. So I'm just showing you how someone that is looking at something carefully will be like, was this a hoax or is it a real thing? The same thing with 9/11. People will look at it and be like, the people that were actually there and their accounts and what they said doesn't match what you're saying took place. Like, people are saying it was a detonation where you can see the building coming down. So what I'm saying is, with any situation where people around the world are going, this is suspect. COVID is another one, yeah? Something that happens to the point where it affects everyone globally. People are going to look into it and they're going to dissect it. They're going to scrutinize it. And you got very smart people in the world, like scientists, that are going to go, nah, that doesn't add up. And they will give you their breakdown of what's going on. And we're saying, like, with us, because the master teacher came on the scene saying he was an extraterrestrial during a time where no one else was saying that, right? It was like, at that point, people say, you're crazy. But then over time, with more evidence, with more information, everything that he was saying that would have sounded crazy or foreign to people was then proven over time, you see. So, yeah, so we're in a day and time where people are seeing extraterrestrials. But then the thing is, English will throw you off, because when you say, what is an extraterrestrial? Like, let's look at it. Like, people will use the word, but if I asked you what is an extraterrestrial, what would you say?
So naturally, I'd think an alien, right? Right.
See, that's what most people will do. But then, what is an alien? If you look at the word alien, yeah, because like you say, when you say ET, straight away, they've deterred you from using the word ET and turn it into alien. But then you say, what is an alien? What would you say an alien is?
A being from another planet?
A being from another planet. But on the TV, in the movie, they actually show you these beings.
Similar looking to a grey.
Right. Okay, you said a grey. Again, a grey, if I can try and draw a grey is the ones with the big eyes, yeah? Like that. Most people.
Big eyes and...
Right. So, again, with the little slits. Why would most people have that as a image of an alien or an extraterrestrial?
Good question.
When you look at the movie E.T., yeah, E.T., because they made a movie about E.T., and E.T. was a being that had the big eyes, and it had a kind of similar shape. Most abductions are by these type of beings known as greys. And then if you go into the details of what is a grey, how did greys come about, originally these are like scientists or beings that were created specifically to go out and scout different environments, different planets. Yeah, like how we would send probes now, or to Mars or whatever, to look at the atmosphere and see whether or not. So these are like your ancient robots, but they're biological robots because they're so advanced.
Oh, okay.
Right. So they would come here. The Natharu originally created them to kind of check the atmosphere to make sure that it was something or somewhere where they could actually survive. Then what happened is you had these reptilians, draconians, who abducted them, added their DNA to them, and started to control them and to use them as weapons. And that's how you start to get different species of greys. So when you look at greys, they were scientists. They will come, abduct like cows. You know the whole mutilation.
Yeah,
they were cutting them up, trying to study them, trying to see how they can see why like humans act the way we act in terms of we have emotions and things like that. And they didn't have emotions. So I'm just showing you how an extraterrestrial is just something extra that comes to the terrain or this terrestrial plane from a celestial plane. So that could be even a meteorite, like what we're saying now with Three-Eye Atlas, right? So movies turn them into alien and they make them look like dangerous and that they're here to harm you because of the greys. But there's, like you say, so many different species to the point where you have normal extraterrestrials, beings that come from different star systems, that are humanoid in form, that don't look like greys. And, you know, people like Nikola Tesla, all the smart people that you know were from other places like Venus, and some of them are like even like people like your Elvis. There's so many people on the planet, Jimi Hendrix. There's so many people that were on the planet or are on the planet that are descendants are not from here, and they will have certain, you know, abilities or whatever. David Blaine, you got Chris Angel. All of these people, they do all of these what they term magic tricks or miracles that you would find in the Bible. But that's because once you study science and know alchemy, you know how to do things like levitation, like transforming base metals into, you know what I mean, like what people call miracles in the Bible. So yeah, there's so many extraterrestrials everywhere, on TV, in governments, you know, and it sounds crazy to people, but when you're developing yourself as a being, you start to get higher abilities. Yeah. So now everyone's saying, oh, the Anunnaki maimed us. That's why we don't have the ability to use all of our brain power. We have junk DNA, and they come up with all these terms to say our perception of the world is limited. And when you look at it, you're like, yeah, because your visible spectrum is only in the electromagnetic spectrum, it's only like between 400 to 600, 700 nanometers, yeah, visible light. But there's outside of that, you look at sound, you're like, our ears, they only hear to a certain frequency, yeah? You look at basically anything you're calling perception, which is touch, which is the only one sense you have. Because to taste something, you know, something has to touch your taste buds. To see something, light has to hit the eye retina. To smell something, something has to touch your nose. To hear something, you're dealing with sound waves. So you do realize that you are limited. Now, what if you were not limited and you were able to use all your brain power and you were able to see beyond that visible light spectrum? What if you were able to hear way past the frequencies you hear? Because dogs can hear past certain frequencies. So when you start to put all of this together, you realize that, okay, everyone is saying the Anunnaki or whoever took this away from us. We were teaching that by way of Partner Babi Anun, the master teacher, that your Barathary gland was removed. Yeah? Barathary. Yeah, your Barathary gland. Just search Barathary gland and you will find we were teaching about this. The master teacher was teaching about this in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And now he's saying when you get that back, which can be reinserted or reactivated, you're going to get your higher powers back, which is clairvoyance, telepathy, intuition, psychometry. He was teaching that years ago. Now people are doing that. And now you've got what? People like Elon Musk with a company called Neuralink.
Yeah.
What are they trying to do? Put chips in your head to connect you to a network so you're going to have access to all the information. This is where AI, right? Remember I mentioned AI before. So AI is robots that have these chips that gives them artificial intelligence. But we have this naturally.
So it's being removed.
If you get that back.
So is that being removed by...
It was removed originally surgically. Yeah, it was originally removed surgically, but if you are able to, the reason it was removed because humans with the little power that they get, they allow the ego and things like, okay, I want to control everyone. Like this is what I was saying about the movie Mission Impossible, the latest one, yeah? Because you've got countries like China, you've got countries like Russia, you've got countries like the US, UK, and everyone's got arsenals of weapons, which is supposed to be a deterrent so we don't go into fighting and having nuclear, wars, missiles, etc. But it's about if you don't have the responsibility to be given power and you can use that power responsibly, then what's going to happen? You're going to create weapons like what happened with the Nagasaki and the Hiroshima. You're going to create bombs that are going to, threaten humanity. So they had to remove that. But when you develop yourself and prove yourself to be worthy, you can get it reinserted. This is how the master teacher, Partner Babi Anun, is able to do what he does. Okay. All this information, because he uses most of his brain. And he has his Barathary gland, you see. So, yeah, so these are all things that he was teaching years ago that today everyone is talking about. But to get it, it's another whole thing, because you have to be worthy. You have to learn to be responsible. It's like Superman. You know, Superman or whoever superhero, they have a power, but they know how to use it responsibly. They don't just go, look at me, da da da, I'm Superman, and like use it in a way that it's not helpful. Go ahead.
So with all that being said,
yeah,
and the greater story about how these beings essentially impacted us and grew us, where do you stand on free will? Do we have free will?
Yes, will, right? That's such a good question, because
everything is curated for us.
Right, remember what I said about your thinking. Remember, thinking is the ability to act, or we say action, but take actions, yeah?
But our thoughts are based on the information we've got, and if our mental reservoir is off,
yeah,
then
you're limited with the information you have. But whatever information you do have, you can only do, there's only 3 states, even though people only say 2, right? You got a neutral state, and you got off stage, and then you have, in fact, let me make this, how can I, a different kind of, okay, I'll do that. Right, so you can either be neutral, or you can say yes, or you can say no, right? And when you look at zeros and ones, it's binary, right?
Okay.
And so when you get information, does it make sense? Yes. I don't need the other way around. This should be yes, right? Let's make this yes. So that would be yes, and let's say this is no, right? So when you say will, will is undecided, yeah? So will be like the middle state, yeah? And when you say free will, you have the ability to choose to go to the left or to the right, yeah? But until you decide, that will, it's non-decided, it's vague. So in religion, they say you have free will. You can choose either side. So if we say the right side, I'll say right and that's left. We say this is God, good, God, yeah? Cancel out that. And then you say this is the devil or bad.
Or evil, yeah.
Or evil, yeah? So now, if you have free, they say free. Free, what does the word free mean?
I can't answer that. What do you think? Free means able to escape?
Right, but I'm saying if I give you something and I say this is free.
No expectation in return?
No expectation, no return. So then they say you got free will, the ability to choose what you want to do. If you choose and say I don't want to believe in God, what happens?
There's no expectation of you to believe in God?
Right, but you're not allowed to do that, because if you choose to say God is not what I want to follow or accept, I don't want to read the Bible, the Quran.
Does that mean you're evil?
It means you're evil. You're going to go to, what's bad? Hell. And what's good? Heaven. So why is it called free will if there's a consequence to your decision?
Please answer.
It's not free.
Okay.
It can't be free, because if it's free and I say I choose to exercise my will not to do the things you told me to do, why am I being punished then? Because then I become a bad person that's going to go to hell because I refuse. So literally you're saying to me, be a robot. Do as I say, follow what I say, follow this book. But then when you try to follow the book and you see all the holes in it, hole as in holy.
Like, oh yeah.
It's got a lot of holes in it. It's not making sense. But you want me to follow something that doesn't make sense. But then I have the ability through my mind, to think for myself and make my own decisions. That's the big difference with religion and Wu-Sabat. Wu-Sabat encourages you to use your mind, to think and make your own decisions, and not just follow blindly someone who doesn't know where they're going, someone who doesn't know what they're doing, someone who doesn't even have the basic English and maths. What do I mean by that? Like, God is supposed to know everything, but his grammar's terrible. Like the first line in the Bible, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. That shows you that he can't write properly, because he should be saying, in the beginning, I created the heavens and the earth. You see what I'm saying? So that's bad grammar. And then, you know, there's in Genesis, it says the voice of God was walking. A voice cannot walk. So as you go through the Bible and read these things, you start to see all these mistakes, right? And then he can't count, because it says, for example, that Jesus, in fact, let's go to the basic one. Like, there are only two people on the planet that he created, Adam and Eve. And they have 2 children. Basic maths is what? How many people is that on the planet?
4.
4 people. But then Cain kills Abel. How many is left?
3.
So why is he afraid people are going to kill him?
Yeah.
Where do these people come from? Because there's not supposed to be anybody else on the planet. So that's again showing you how basic maths is not making sense. We can go on and on from the beginning of the title of the book all the way to what they call the book of Revelations. And all you do is see mistakes after mistakes after mistakes. But yet he can't make mistakes, because if he makes mistakes, that means he's not God. That means he doesn't know everything. Like, did you know that the angel was going to become a devil when you created him?
So that's the question.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
If you knew he was going to be bad, why didn't you stop him?
Or why did you make them an angel?
Or why did you make him in the first place? You see, so these are the types of questions. We can go on and on and on and literally show you that God is not a very smart God. Like, if you are responsible for a crime, let's say Adam and Eve, they ate the fruit. What does he do? He punishes everyone.
Yeah.
Because he drowns everybody and the animals and people that didn't have anything to do with the situation. That doesn't make sense. He says he's all powerful, but when there's a problem, he sends his son.
Or all loving, for example.
All loving.
Yeah.
But you're so loving that you still send your son to be crucified, and you could have done something about it. Or send Job through all the problems he went through, or Lot, or any of these stories, Moses, wandering around. You know what I mean? There's so many holes in it. But yeah, were you gonna ask
Oh,
something?
no, not yet. No.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just saying, like, Wu-Sabat gives you back your ability to think for yourself, which will lead you to act properly, which will lead you to behave in a way that will earn you back your Barathary Gland, which will make you back into the supreme being that these extraterrestrials are, who have the ability to use all of their mind and their brain power, and they can do so many things. So we can move humanity to a different level, because like right now, we don't even know how to travel from here to Mars. And this is what, you know, people like Elon Musk are working on. And do you know what I mean? We don't know how to cure all the diseases. We don't know how to do so many things that once you have that ability, we will solve all the problems. And now what they're doing is introducing AI and saying AI is going to do it. But then they're saying when AI gets to a point where we can't control it, AI is going to turn around and wipe out all humanity. So it's very dangerous.
So on the point of AI, right?
Yeah.
So you have humans,
Yeah.
which are the products of the Anunnaki and so forth, right?
Yeah.
And then you have AI, which is the product of humans. Does AI have any link to our creators?
That's what I'm saying. We think it's the product of humans. It's not. It's the product of extraterrestrials.
Okay.
Extraterrestrials are the ones behind the scenes pulling the strings, giving you the information. Like how it happened with Yakub. They're pulling the strings telepathically or sending you what people call inspiration, right? But inspiration means you're actually expiring. Because again, looking at words when you do the etymology, right? So it's to expire. But inspiration, you say, I had this idea, not realizing is these gods. That's why I'm saying that God that you're talking about in the Bible is an extraterrestrial. But there are different types of extraterrestrials that are influencing these people on the planet who are now saying that I received an inspiration to write this book. But they have given you that information, but they have an objective or a motive to control you because they want you to do certain things in their favor. So for example, circumcision, right? This is one of the things that, you know, in the Bible, you're taught to do.
They're promoting, yeah.
Yeah, but their motive behind that is to create more humans for food, because the more you procreate, the more you're able to give them more food. Just like how we create, or humans create more chickens or, you know, whatever, so that they can feed the masses that eat meat. So it's the same way. They have a farm and they're farming humans.
Okay.
They like the taste of humans, seasoned in a particular way. Just like you might go, I like smoked this, or, you know, I like barbecue.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing in the Bible. They're barbecuing and doing offerings to these gods who like the savior, the smell of that burnt carcass.
Literally.
That's a barbecue. And today, humans and people are still doing the same because they've learned that behavior from their gods.
So is that where ritualism comes from?
That's right.
It's
all
like,
those rituals that people perform is to appease these different extraterrestrials.
It's like showing them,
Yeah.
we want to be like you.
I want to be like you, have favor, leave me alone. Even the protection from them, that's what happens, because they'll tell you, like the Passover. What was a Passover?
What Jesus did?
Well, they will say that if you put a certain sign on your door, yeah, which was the Red Cross,
the plague would...
yeah, these extraterrestrials will leave you alone. They will pass you over.
Oh.
Because there was a covenant that was made between Abraham and these extraterrestrials. So many covenants are being made throughout the Bible, which a covenant is a contract, like a negotiation. Like, okay, we're only gonna abduct a certain amount of people a year. Do we agree on that? Yeah, as long as you leave us alone, you don't trouble this, you don't do that, you don't show yourself, you don't take over the planet, we'll make those agreements.
So it's just contractual between the world
Contracts,
leaders.
yeah. And the whole world of contracts is another whole class, to be honest.
Yeah, I would like to ask about that, because obviously written word is seemingly very important.
It's contracts. Listen, you just said it. It says in the beginning was the word. So it's all about the word. Someone had to write something or carve something to say this is our agreement. So another covenant will be like, okay, we are not going to destroy the world anymore in the future by drowning or floods or water. So we're going to do it by fire instead. But the fire now is happening all over today, where you see fires all over Europe, fires over America last year. There are fires now destroying. And the ultimate fire is the sun, because people are getting skin cancer, and because of the ozone layers depleting on this planet now, like what the Anunnaki and the Nibiru had originally on their planet. Because that means that the rays of the sun, the harmful rays, or the ultraviolet light are coming through and they can kill you. So there's so many contracts, and when you look at the word contract, that you see the word con.
Yeah.
So like you say, the words,
Contract.
yeah, if you don't know, you're being conned into doing something that you might think is beneficial to you, but the person who writes a contract, and what did Kanye West was the other day, it was a whole about the contract, saying that, you know, these contracts are designed in a way that artists, it's not really to their favor, you know, and you start to look at the musical industry, the entertainment industry is all about contracts. And you look at commerce, dealing with how the world is run, it's all about contracts. But you have different types of contracts, and then you start going to the legalese and the different, what you would call jurisdictions. Because a jurisdiction is that we have a law that governs a particular area or state, and then it goes into like admiral law and commerce and as opposed to common law and things that are common, that make sense in nature, that we all used to kind of like agree on. But like I said, that's a whole different class in the subject, where really contracts are part of the problem. And when you look at it tying into the legal, brings us to why our master teacher has been kidnapped. Yeah, kidnapped. And you know, when you're dealing with kidnapping, that's an illegal thing to do. Yeah, so we're here to basically...
Why is Dr. Malachi in prison?
Good question. Because he's teaching truth. Truth, and that's such a great question, because if someone is known, right, if you ask most people in the world, what do you know about Dr. Malachi Jews? They're going to say they know about him teaching truth. All the books is exposing and putting out information to really give you the facts. So if someone's known for truth, and that's what he's been known for his entire life, his entire mission, how is it all of a sudden he's being incarcerated under falsehood? Meaning that if you're known for truth, you can't then be lying all of a sudden, because it's not in your character, it's not in your nature. But to answer the question more directly, it's the information that he was putting out over the years, because it meant that people could then start to think for themselves, and they're no longer under the control of others. Because to control the masses means that you play God, and you play, you know, what we say goes. And like when people learn about, for example, I'm eating this thing, it's not good for me, it's bad for my health. And someone comes and breaks it down and tells you, yeah, it's not good for you, you stop eating it. The person who produces it is going to lose money. They're going to lose control over those people that are eating that. So it's in the interest for them to keep you eating that, because it's their pockets are getting fat.
So with that being said...
And that's on every subject. I just use food and health as an example. Yeah.
So with that being said, back to the free will point, right?
Yeah.
So essentially our world leaders are under contractual obligation with the Anunnaki and whatnot.
Extraterrestrials, yeah.
To control us, essentially, to keep us herded, right?
Yeah.
So with that being said, why is everything so awful for people? Why are we working to death and getting
because
awful food?
they benefit from you being like that, because they feed off of that negative energy.
Okay.
So what, like you said, you got entities that people call gods, angels, but they don't know them. They just call them these names based on the books they read. And those entities give power or influence to the people that are their puppets. And then those people are in the seats of leadership, and then they have the governments. And the governments govern your mental.
Okay.
So you say government, but you don't hear it. Because again, it's language. Govern the mental. And the mental is how you think and how you behave and then how you ultimately act. So yeah, it's like the puppet master pulling the strings. But what happens is when you wake up and see through this and you try to tell other people, look, this is not making sense, then you become made to look like an outcast. You're the infidel, you're the heathen, you're the one that is crazy. But you're like, I'm crazy. Look at what you're doing, as you're saying, look at the conditions of the world. Why is everyone tense? Why are there wars? Why are there divisions? Why are people fighting against each other? And a lot of the times it's because of a religion. Because the religion, the people in the religions are following these contracts or these books that they so-called received from their God. But it came through men. Because the men wrote them. But if you go back far enough to before there were problems, before there were conflicts, before there were religions, you go back to us as a people, Africans, where we lived in peace and harmony. Africans have never been known to go to other countries and other people and invade and kidnap them and, you know, bring diseases and drop bombs and all of this kind of stuff. So then you say, well, who is God then? If Africans, the original people, were living in peace and harmony and they had all the resources, the gold, the platinum, the uranium, the cobalt, the food, the environment, everything was beautiful. So who then is the devil? So you look on the planet and you see who is doing the most devilishment or chaos on the planet. So we, as those original children of those supreme beings, are now trying to bring back that world. Yeah, and it's because the cycle is right, because you're dealing with, we're now in what people are calling the Aquarian age, or the, you know, the golden age, and the dimensional shift, where people are now waking back up to being how it was at the beginning, and before all the problems came along. You know, it's the same, like if you look at it and say, okay, men have been running the world for the last 6,000 years, prime minister, presidents, bishops, and all the like CEOs, the important positions, kings, emperors. It's all been men. So now, if we say go back to the beginning, we would have to say, well, the woman was there first, and let's put the woman back in place and see how that works out, because you have to reverse everything.
So you see how in current day, everything's switched to the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Does that not imply that the current obligators, they're not good, they're the disagreeable people?
That's why the conditions of the world are the way they are.
So are they good ones?
Yes, remember this whole thing you asked me about will, and I put good and bad, or we say positive or negative or agreeable and disagreeable. That's what has to happen, because it actually tells you that the devil said to God, he's going to make evil fair seeming, right? Which means I'm going to make something bad look good.
Yeah.
So now you're doing things that you think are good, but are actually bad for you. So if you reverse it, you're going to literally do this. Take what let's say you're looking at God like this, yeah, G-O-D. You've got to literally go D-O-G and say, what is that? What's the significance? Do you know what I mean? Or like I say, like you might think you're living, you say live. You do the opposite, you're going to get what?
Evil.
Evil. So he's making evil fair seeming. He's making things that are bad look good, to the point where you've lost connection with
what is actually good.
Your divine, or what's actually good, to the point where people are so desensitized now that they've normalized things that don't make sense, or things like years ago you would look at somebody being attacked, or like any injustice happening, your natural instinct will be help, or that's not good.
Yeah.
Now, if you stand up for something that is not good, you're made to be like the problem.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So what we're doing with Wu-Sabat is raising your consciousness again, so that you can start to go back to what we call that nine mind. Nine mind is like the highest nine mind thinking, or the highest level of consciousness or mental awareness, so that you start to act and behave like a god. Like you wouldn't behave like the gods of the Bible or the gods of the Qurans or the gods of religion. You know this doesn't make sense. We want peace and harmony for everyone. We want to make sure there's no suffering. You know, all the things that God is supposed to take care of, we can do for ourselves. But we have to unite, we have to come together with everyone who can kind of see this. But to do that, you have to wake up from the spell. And going back to your contracts, when you're saying spell, that this is how you've been hoodwinked because of the word spell. But it's really spellings. The spellings of the words in the contracts and the books that you're reading that are throwing you off. Because if you think about law, yeah, you have someone who's been paid to make someone else either look guilty or to get them off. So this words, they'll basically do a way of, basically putting a spell on you, because they will tell you something means one thing, but it actually means something else.
So that there is a further power in words. That's
Absolutely,
normally known.
yeah. Excellent. So before words, what did you do?
What, like as me,
All of us.
babble?
We communicated, but without words, with tones, with vibrations.
Yeah.
So you can feel it. You know when
Through
something.
intent.
Exactly. You can feel the energy. So as energy beings, we already know what's right innately, but the words confuse you because it's based on man-made words and what language you're using. And today, most people around the world are speaking English. And that's where the confusion comes in.
So with that, because English is quite widely pushed, but obviously you say it's not a language, it's a dialect, an amalgamation.
You should think, how comes?
Yeah,
why is English
why
the
is
most
that?
widely? Because you had the Crusaders, you had the Crusade, you had people that went around to other countries and changed their culture and said, okay, this is what we're going to speak. Give them the Bible, gave them books that, like most black people, especially through slavery, for example, well, not most, but a lot, were stripped off of their land, their name, their culture, their language, to the point where they're thinking in English.
Yeah.
And if I'm thinking in English, check this out. The word devil, right? The word devil, if you didn't create the language, that wouldn't even exist.
Sorry?
The word, think
Yeah.
of it, the word. Remember, it says, in the beginning was the word. The word devil was created by someone. So whoever created the devil created the word.
Yeah.
Because without that word, there would be no devil. Someone's going to say, yeah, but there were the word in other languages. But I'm saying, we're talking about this word, devil. So someone created that word. And I'm saying whoever created that word created the devil.
Okay.
Just like someone created the word God. Because if you've never heard that word in your entire
It's not a concept
existence,
yet.
it doesn't exist. So it only exists because somebody created it.
Okay.
And you have to say, well, who created it? Because this is a translation. When you read, the first time you come across that word God in Genesis, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Up until that point, that word wouldn't exist to you. But the thing is, you're reading a translation. So you have to say, what is that word in
That
the
was
language
originally
where it's
said.
been translated from? And in Genesis, they're going to say Hebrew. But you go to the Hebrew, it doesn't say God, does it? It says Elohim.
Yeah.
Then
And that's plural.
Exactly. So now you have to say it's plural. Why is it being made to look like it's singular? And who did that? And then you're going to say what does Elohim mean? Then you're going to have to find that out. Then you're going to be like, well, where does Elohim come from if Hebrew is not the original language? You're going to go back till you end up back with the original language.
Yep.
And in our language, we wouldn't say God, we would say Natharu. And then you say, what does Natharu mean? Overseers. Okay, who are the overseers and what do they oversee? They oversee the planet, the galaxy, the universe, the multiverse, and they have order.
So they're like multi-dimensional.
There you go. They have order. That, like, imagine the sun and the planet have mathematics that make sure they operate and behave in a certain way for millions of years. Doesn't change. So they've put that intelligence in place to keep order in the universe. But that order has been messed up by artificial or these other beings are coming and saying, okay, although we have food, healthy to eat, vegetation, let's kill the animals and eat them instead, which is throwing off the ecology. It's not really the way we should do it. Or let's poison the water and then bottle water and sell it to you.
Yeah.
You know, all these things that you're looking at that you've accepted as being normal, but they're not really normal, you know, like creating money so that you have the haves and the don't haves, you know, because someone can have one of their rings or their chains can cost millions of pounds, but that million can feed an entire country. That doesn't make sense. Or you can have a house with, or a mansion with golf courses and millions of rooms that no one lives in, but there are people homeless on the street, you know. So these are the types of thinking that causes problems, where we need to get to a point where we can make life fair for everyone. And that's what Wu-Sabat is here to do. Wu-Sabat is the future. Religion is dead. And if you're still following these dead books, dead writings, dead people, then you're dead. So we have to bring you alive and activate you back to Wu-Sabat. And then you have all the Patarak, what we call the way. All these scrolls here, they're called the way because they tell you and give you the information that makes sense on how you should live. And how do you know it works? You have to put it to practice. Don't take my word for it. Just read one of them, see if it makes sense, and then you compare it with everything else, and it will speak for itself. Yeah. You good with that?
Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much.
No problem. Thanks for coming through and asking the questions. And, you know, we always like to speak to different people because we want different perspectives. We want people to know that OSM is our souls matter, and OSM is here so you can ask us anything, and then you have to do your research. We demystify everything so that you can literally become your own God. Because that's the last point I'm going to make. When you say the word God, there are different types of gods. People have to realize this, because you go to different cultures and different people and they will tell you what God is. Now there's gods that walk the planet. That's us, all of us. And there are gods that are hidden, that no one knows or sees, that are up somewhere in heaven or this place. So which type of God is real? The one you can see, touch, that is like you can feel pain. Because people say, if Dr. Malachi Ziyuk is this great being, why is he incarcerated? And we say, because he's real. He's real, just like me and you.
He's limited.
And you're limited when you're in this physical form, because you've dropped down. Just like Jesus, just like Muhammad, just like anyone else who was on the planet, they had to go through physical things. And that's the reality. We're those real gods that walk amongst the people on the planet.